the Guardian Newspaper Limited, Nigeria. Before moving on, let me recognize the presence of some personalities we have here. Let me start by welcoming the Pro Chair and Chairman of Council, Dr. Tunji Abayomi. You're most welcome, sir. It is also my honor to recognize and welcome our VC, Professor Olubenga Ige. I will also like to recognize the presence of the University Registrar, Mr. Olubenga Arajolo. You're most welcome, sir. I will come back to the top, and I want to say that the guest lecturer will be the person that we will introduce last. Let me move down a little bit by recognizing and welcoming the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration, Professor Adebisi Daramola. You're most welcome, sir. I also welcome Professor Olusegun Akinwumi, DVC, Academic. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome the bursar of this university, Mr. Toby Orena. You're most welcome, sir. It is also my honor to welcome the university librarian, Dr. Yemisi Olorunfemi. I will start from this side by recognizing the Dean of Students, Professor Akombi. You're most welcome, sir. I also welcome Professor Ogunpadewa, that's the Dean of the Social Sciences. It is also my honor to welcome in our midst Professor Oladoja, that's the Dean of Science. Dr. Oke is there, Dean, Faculty of Law. You're most welcome, sir. It is also my honor to recognize and welcome Professor Afolabi Aribugbola, Dean, Environmental Design and Management. Also, Professor Ayenigbara of Education. You're most welcome, sir. And my dear brother, Professor Okumbodede, the Dean, AAUA Business School. I also recognize the presence of Professor Remeta, that's the Dean, Faculty of Arts. I also have the honor to recognize the presence of Professor Badamosi, that is the Dean, Faculty of Agriculture. Professor Akimulegun is of the Faculty of Administration and Management Sciences. You are welcome, sir. I recognize Professor Benson Akinowonu, that's the Dean, PG School. You're most welcome, sir. Distinguished professors, distinguished directors, HODs, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly recognize all of you and I warmly welcome you. And to go back to the top table here at appropriate time, I'm sure Mr. Vice Chancellor will do the formal introduction of the guest lecturer. Let me welcome to our university where we build competent graduates and confident graduates by welcoming our big brother, Mr. Martins Oloja, Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief, The Guardian Newspaper Limited, Nigeria. You're most welcome to our university, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, without taking much of your time, let me invite Mr. Vice Chancellor to the microphone for his welcome address. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you. The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman Council, Adekunle Ajashin University, the principal officers of the university, our guest lecturer, the editor-in-chief and managing director of the Guardian newspapers, Lagos, Mr. Martin Zoloja, Deans of Faculties, Directors, distinguished professors, distinguished members of staff, Dekunle Ajashin University, members of the Student Union Body, Executive, thank you very much. You have been expecting whether the VC will recognize you or not. The other members of the university community, gentlemen of the press, it is with great pleasure and a sense of anticipation that I stand before you today to declare open the 12th Convocation Lecture for Dekunle Ajashin University, Akumba Akoko. This annual tradition serves as a unique opportunity for our academic community to engage with distinguished personalities who have made significant contributions to various fields. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Martin Zoloja, the Editor-in-Chief and Managing Director of the Guardian newspapers, Lagos, as our distinguished guest speaker. The theme of the lecture is profoundly relevant to the evolving landscape of higher education globally. It is titled Internationalization of University Education for Global Relevance, Experiences, Barriers, and Prospects. Mr. Martin Zoloja, a seasoned newspaper editor with a wealth of experience dating back to the 1990s, when he assumed the role of editor of the Abuja Newsday, has had an illustrious career in journalism, serving as the pioneer Lagos bureau chief and subsequently editor of The Guardian. His commitment to the journalistic profession has been very, very exemplary. His extensive experience is anticipated to provide a unique perspective that will undoubtedly enrich our understanding of the lecture's theme. As we eagerly await his insights, let us reflect on the broader implications of internationalizing university education in the context of global relevance. In today's interconnected world, where knowledge knows no borders, the role of universities in preparing students to navigate a diverse and complex global environment is paramount. The experiences, barriers, and prospects in this pursuit will be explored by our renowned guest lecturer. I encourage everyone present here today to actively engage with the lecture, pose questions, and embrace the opportunity to broaden your perspectives. Let us make the most of this occasion to enhance our understanding of the evolving dynamics in the internationalization of university education. Once again, welcome you all to this significant event, and I'm confident that Mr. Martin Zoloja's lecture will inspire thought-provoking discussions and contribute to the ongoing discourse on the global relevance of higher education. I thank you for listening, and I welcome you to this lecture. Thank you.
Please, shall we put our hands together for Mr. Vice Chancellor? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to invite to the microphone the university orator, Professor Osei Meposi, to come and present the convocation lecturer. Prof, please let's welcome him with the applause.
The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of Adekunle Ajashin University, Akumba Akoko. Vice Chancellor and other principal officers of Adekunle Ajasin University. Mo sì mọ̀ pé ẹnu òrùfò mi ò ní pa o. And standing on the existing protocol, may I kindly request that the guest lecturer should stand and remain standing while I take his citation. Once upon a time, tropes in Yoruba socialization were very deep and very instructive. Unlike what we have in postmodern dispensation, where relativism has blurred the lines of meta-fecundity. The Pro-Chancellor, Mr. Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guest. It is for this reason that I would draw from the transitional sensibilities and tropes to inform us that the FODU, that is the black nightshade or Solanum nigrum of the convocation lecturer, is not a stranger to the farmer of some of us. FODU rẹ̀ kì í ṣe àmọ̀polóko wa. Others who may not know him today will have their knowledge enriched as we proceed in these transactions. Standing before you, adorned in the university regalia, is Martins Oloja, a peripatetic mind whose names reminds us of how we had complementary dealings between the North and the South, between the West and Africa, as indicated in his name, Martins, reminding us of our colonial experience, and Oloja, which tells us how convoluted we are in our experience and our orientations. And how his name, Oloja, raised an ancestry with a reputation for commerce and industry, the owner of the market, but who chose a long walk in a career in the media practice and public communication for the information and reformation of humankind. Oloja was born in the coastal community of Odiajagba in the local government of Ondo State, but has transformed to a global citizen. And he now thinks local, but acts global. I would refer to him as a cosmopolitan citizen who has had engagements with very common experiences and have used these experiences to garnish his thoughts and interventions in global discourse. As required in Nigeria educational structuring, Oloja acquired informal and formal education and knowledge and became a better person to himself and humanity, using the opportunity available in media practice and public discourse. To this end, Martins Oloja had the distinction of writing the first cover story of the new magazine in 1977. He's a wordsmith. This was an award-winning feature story on Abuja, the nation's capital, the seat of power, and the place of milk. Oloja has been a newspaper editor since 1990, when he was appointed editor of the Abuja Premier newspaper, the Abuja Newsday, where he was till 1993, and he has played major roles in a few other media outlets, with the Guardian predominating his commitment and career. This placement was, however, preceded by his appointment as the pioneer Lagos Bureau up until 1990, when he was elevated as editor of the newspaper. Unfortunately, like some other Nigerians, he suffered the attrition of dictatorship during the tormenting June 12, 1993 political imbroglio, when the newspaper was closed down by the then military administration. He was the pioneer senior associate editor of the Source News magazine from 1997 to 1999, when he was invited to the Guardian in 1999 as Abuja Bureau Chief / Deputy Editor. By reason of grace-filled sadness of mind and deed of hard work, he was later appointed editor of the Guardian in October 2012. Conscious of the benefits of impactful collaboration made possible by association, Oloja belongs to different prestigious professional groups, such as the Nigeria Guild of Editors, Nigeria Union of Journalists, and a transnational one, that is National Association of Black Journalists, based in the United States of America. Analogous to a mark of accentuation, the cumulative efforts of Oloja in the media profession also earned him a fellow of the Nigeria Guild of Editors. For some of us that may not know, this is the highest honor for editors in Nigeria. Let's put our hands together for him. Oloja has consistently been a major participant in the enterprise of nurturing conscience by truth in the Guardian. That is the motto of the Guardian newspaper. He once served as the executive head, business and content development in the Guardian between 2016 and 2018. He has been a member of the Guardian editorial board since 2012, during which time he also served as editor daily. Oloja's consistencies and meta-alertness have seen him serving as chief leader, that is editorial writer and columnist, under the title Inside Stock at the Guardian since 2016. Let's put our hands together. Oloja was deliberate about acquiring requisite knowledge for his career and became a graduate of the Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos, where his academic excellence got acknowledged as the Daily Times best graduating student. Still in search of eclectic and skillful knowledge, he later attended University of Liverpool, United Kingdom, where he earned the MSc degree in International Management. Little wonder, therefore, the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council and Mr. Vice Chancellor, he is not just a resounding communicator, but a good manager. Oloja does not just possess richness in content, but in generosity, as he has plenteously shared his thoughts in more than 260 papers he delivered on public policies, journalism, reputation management, Christian studies, education issues, among others. One of such interventions was Pastor Adeboye at 80th birthday lecture that he delivered at the Redeemers University at Osun State in March 2022. Arguably, Oloja has a reputation for impactful human reformation. The creatively regenerative mind of Oloja is typified by his having published more than 400 articles in his Inside Stock, a weekly column, without skipping any edition since February 2016. Notwithstanding his crowded schedules and his imperative of his other commitments. This is without saying that related to touchy matters that involve human chaotic sensibilities, particularly in a nation like Nigeria, could be highly traumatized. So I sympathize with you, sir. Oloja is not only limited to the print media, but he has similarly made noticeable contributions in the electronic media by participating in several radio and television public policy analysis and programs, including TVC's journalist hangout. He was a partner with the late James Audu Media in Focus on NTA and A Chance to Meet between 1994 and 1996. He also participated in many editions of AIT's Media Review and sundry news magazines on Ray Power FM. It is not out of place to describe Oloja as a restless public intellectual who would discomfort himself for the people to know nothing but the truth, quote and unquote. If the struggle was the life of Nelson Mandela, popularizing truth has been the life of Oloja. The contribution of Oloja to political development is illustrated by his appointment as an executive consultant media analyst to the UNDP on Nigeria election in 2007 elections. Besides, Oloja's media practice and public contributions are transcendental of the African continent, as he has covered international events in China, United States of America, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, among others, including the US general elections and presidential inauguration in 2008, 2009. The impactful contributions of Oloja have been felt in the enhancement of the media practice and production of manpower, as he was a former executive consultant, content development, to the South African Broadcasting Corporation SABC FM station. Between 2015 and 2019, Oloja also served as external examiner to the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, NJI, Nigeria's premier training institution for journalists, which is now an accredited monotechnic. In addition to the recognitions of Oloja ELA listed, he has won many professional excellence awards, which include Nigerian Media Merit Awards, NMMAs, MS Ikoli Newspaper Reporter of the Year 1997-1998, and 1998-1999. Nominations for Editor of the Year 2013-2014, NMMA. Dame Award for Informed Commentary Columnist of the Year 2017, among others. For Oloja, the words of John Ruskin are true. That quality is never an accident. It is always the result of intelligent effort. So for him, it's been a product of intelligent effort. As he has completed 3 books under the following titles. 1, Abuja, a very Nigerian capital. 2, Journalism is in Public Relations. And 3, the Political Express Freedom. The worth of an aggregated opinions of Oloja in these books will not fall short of the various drops of ease that nurtured both the minds of Nigerians and the nation in the past. Oloja's thoughts have similarly complementarily reinforced those of others as he wrote the afterwards to 2 books written by Dr. Goke Adegoroye on public policies beyond yours faithfully, 2010, and restoring good governance in Nigeria, leadership and political will, volume 1 and 2. To avoid killing a snake with a crooked stick, the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, distinguished council members that are here, the Vice Chancellor and other principal officers, members of Senate and our distinguished professors, our royal father is either here or represented, our students, members of the Fourth of the Estate, our dear alumni, graduates, invited guests, our dear student, great Nigerian students. I need to inform you that Martin Oloja is prestigiously the current managing director and editor-in-chief of The Guardian. I present to you Martin Oloja, the server of knowledge, with the coolness of the water pot, an ebullient, innovative wordsmith who has successfully shaped ions in billows, converting them to creative, positive instruments for human regeneration, a public speaker and interventionist with disruptive predilection for social, political, and economic rejuvenation, and a diligent gatekeeper and manager in the hallowed chambers of truth and transparency. In a season and age of truth and falsehood, I am confident that his insights on the discourse for us will help chart a new positive path and illuminate the trajectory we would follow going forward as individuals, institutions, nations, and humanity, knowing full well that Oloja will not betray the words of Utmadafodio. So the fact that conscience is an open wound, only truth can heal it. For you to note the worth of Oloja, you need to be reminded of the opinion of Dole Party that it is hard to be a diamond in a right stone word. I've said to you, Martin Oloja, thank you very much. With the approval of the President and Chairman of Council and the Vice Chancellor of Adekunle Ajasin University, may I request Mr. Martin Oloja to once again sting our thoughts and disrupt our emotions. He delivered the convocation lecture.
Thank you very much. This is an academic community. I don't know whether I should start with this cliché. We always stand on existing protocol. I don't know where it actually emanated from. I want us to please sit down. Thank you very much. Before the normal protocol, I want to thank the Almighty God who has enabled me and given the grace to be here. It's by his grace that we are all here. First and foremost, I want to thank the Vice Chancellor, Chief Host. I'm not new to the community here. I'm not totally a stranger here. I can recognize a few faces I have met in the course of my career. I know the chairman of the council, he told the vice chancellor in his office that we have known for more than 30 years. Dr. Tunji Abayomi is really an activist. I am not greeting him, I'm just recognizing his presence. I also know your boss, Mr. Toby Orena. He used to teach us mathematics. At the Divisional Teachers College, Odeaye. So I hold a certificate as a teacher. It's one of those things missing deliberately when there was a country. The teachers' colleges were teachers' colleges at that time. He was teaching us mathematics, so I'm not surprised. That's a chartered accountant. Note that he was teaching us as students who were classmates, but some of us were not so good at mathematics. And I also know your dean of the Faculty of Law, Dr. Olubenga Okesamwa. We were struggling, not just struggling, we were activists in Abuja in those days, more than 20 years ago. We were together, and I know him. I have not seen him since that time. We've just been communicating. We haven't been meeting, but I've been following developments around him. I'm very happy to see that he is here in the academia, and I saw the trait in him when we were in Abuja, was practicing as a lawyer. My brother, thank God for your life. You know, there are some others I know, but I don't want to waste our time by counting people that I know, maybe in the course of this. I want to thank the chairman, the council, Pro Chancellor Dr. Tunji Abayomi. I want to welcome and also thank the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olugbenga Ige. I thank for agreeing me to be here, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor E.A. Daramola. I want to thank Professor Olusegun Akiwumi, DVC Academics, the Daramola DVC Administration. I want to thank and welcome the Registrar, R.O. Arajulu, Bossa, Statobi Orina, and University Librarian, Dr. D. Olorunfemi. I cannot, as I said, I'm not a protocol person. I don't know the protocol, but I want to acknowledge these officers. And I want to pay tribute to the late Adekunle Ajasin, who set up the organic Ondo State University in the then Ondo in Ado-Ekiti. We can honor the memory that he set up, and also know the role he played in making education weapon of country and global competitiveness in the old Western region. He played a key role. And I also want to honor the memory of the late Adebayo Adefarat, who actually set up this university. So we need to honor the memory of these great leaders of ours. And I therefore want to thank the authorities. Do not look too much into the paper that has been printed for you. You know, I'm a journalist. I have not come here to deliver an academic paper. I have come here as a journalist and a small teacher, just contextual reporting of the state of education. It's not academic. I am not an academic. Anyway, just for us to share some information, what am I'm intimidated. What am I going to tell people who have, to professors and others who have spent all their life in the academia? Absolutely nothing. In any case, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. I want to thank all the academic staff too, the committee of the deans here, and I want to thank the great students who have come here. Without them, we would not be here. The great students of this university. Thank you very much for coming. And I said it is gratifying to note we will read some and we'll speak to some, because the Vice Chancellor has led me into temptation. I asked him, what is the word limit? He said unlimited. I said, hey, but don't worry, we will speak to some. We will not waste our time, and we will read some. In the beginning, I say it is gratifying to know that the Adekunle Ajasin University at Akungba Akoko was established on November 5, 1999. And the vision of founding fathers is quite clear. They would like the university to be, unquote, a foremost institution that moves manpower development in the direction of self-appreciation, a first-class university in research, knowledge, character, and service to humanity. I congratulate the council and management of the university, as the Vice Chancellor has confidently claimed in a letter to me that they are driven by a lofty vision of building a 21st century university, properly called the, and the university has remained committed to deepening its academic integrity, promoting excellent research, producing globally competitive and confident graduates. It's also noteworthy that the university has received a lot of good reports, particularly from the regulator, the National Universities Commission, about its programs and facilities. I say congratulations. Besides, the good reports about the university, including the fact that the last 24 years, the university has been rated the best state university on 4 occasions by different independent organizations, the most recent being a global webometric ranking. As the university, you is still basking in the glory of good ranking, achievements and commendation. It has continued to engage its convocation to interrogate the nexus between the dynamic nature of society and the place of higher education in the fast-changing world that digital technologies daily disrupt. Digital technologies have disrupted the way we think, the way we work, and will continue to do so. It is in this connection that I have been invited to deliver the 12th Convocation lecture on internationalization of university education for global relevance, experiences, barriers, and prospects. Thank you very much for this invitation to deconstruct this topic at this time, that education at all levels is facing huge challenges in this convoluted federation without federalic structure. I have in mind here that examination, that is admission, that the admission centralized, regulation of course is centralized in a federation. Everything, Abuja, he wants to disrupt. It's not possible. They say you need NUC approval. You want to be creative, you need NUC approval. You want to admit the best, you say no, JAMB has not agreed in a convoluted federation like this. I want you to not me to mean that we are in a unitary system that controls education life for more than 200 million people from one center where they regulate content of curriculum and conduct of entry point examinations. It is a bit complicated. As a journalist who began life as a trained teacher and now a leader in the Indian industry, who has covered the highest level of government, written extensively on education and its troubles in Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, for more than 35 years, I would like us to direct our discussion points and suggestions to the authorities Nigeria, who are generally suspected. I'm saying that people, from what we are doing, from what we are saying, people are generally suspected to be disinterested. We're not interested in education. That's my gut feeling. I would like us to direct our discussion points and suggestions to the authorities and people of Nigeria who are generally suspected to be tired of funding education. A section of the country now sees as a scam, as some of the best brains in Nigeria are poorly remunerated wherever they work, while semi-literate ones and even political thugs who have no definite or useful skill set are the ones who are fortunate that this lecture is taking place, who are fortunate in office and power. Wasting our resources, we are wasting our resources on them. And it's unfortunate that this lecture is taking place at a time the tertiary education is still facing challenges of poor remuneration package. How can permanent secretaries in our system, 21st century, earn higher than professors in Nigeria when it was not so in the beginning? It wasn't so in the beginning. Look at it during the First Republic. What is written in dollars here is not dollars, really, it's part of the conversion issue. is if in the First Republic, permanent secretaries, $3,000, professor, $3,200. During the military, permanent secretary were earning $7,800 and professors $7,000. Then Obasanjo came. It became permanent secretaries 12 million per annum. They can get up to 22 million. Then they reduced professors on to $6 million. Some people are saying that even IPP has reduced that. That's unfortunate. It is now clear that personal aids to our political leaders earn higher than even old professors who have hit the last bar. I mean that what is happening to education is a threat to the country that our leaders don't care a huge about. They don't care about I mean, what is happening to education is a threat to the country that leaders don't care a huge about. They don't care about the warning that we constantly publish, that no one needs any atomic bomb to destroy a country at this time. All that is needed to destroy the education of any country is to destroy its education, and that country will become a failed nation. This is not new. You will see it here. You say, let us study this classic that most of us have received many times across platforms. It is on why the collapse of education is the collapse of a nation. Recall that the following words posted at the entrance gate of a South African university sums up the problems we are now facing. Unquote. Say, destroying any education, destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education and allowing cheating in the examinations by the students. What will happen, that is, the result is that patients die at the hands of doctors trained under that circumstance. Buildings collapse at the hands of engineers trained in that circumstance. Money is lost at the hands of economists and accountants who are poorly trained. That means humanity dies at the hands of religious scholars. Justice is lost at the hands of judges, as some people are beginning to see, because the collapse of education is the collapse of the nation. This message is not directed at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his Minister of Education alone. It is directed at all the 36 state governors and 774 local government council officials in this troubled federation. It is not about typing out the quotable quotes or words on education in our various rooms and offices. It is about how our leaders can manage priorities in a way that will empower them to regard and invest in education as a weapon of country and global competitiveness. What I'm saying is that it's not just directing these, it is the attitude of our own leaders at all levels, the way they take it. They do not know that poor funding we are doing is worse than an atomic bomb. This is not a time of lamentation about the quantum of time the ASU members have wasted on strike. The only language authorities in Nigeria actually understand is strike. It is not just a time to remember that ASU has been the most unappreciated driving force behind improved remuneration package in the public. They want to pay tribute to ASU activists over the years, because many people do not know, as the state officials are deriding them now, that they have been the driving force behind improved public sector remuneration package. Let's clap for them. It is just the right time to encourage our leaders at all levels to swallow their pride and vanity and be angry with themselves about the consequences of their violent attack on education and indeed on the future of their country. On reflection, they should know that without good and happy teachers, there won't be growth and employment who can cope with the needs of our time. Our leaders at all levels who like to decorate their bookshelves with the biography of Lee Kuan Yew, the Singaporean iconic leader who lifted his country from third to first world when he led the country for 32 years, to read the remarkable biography of the legendary Lee Kuan Yew. When we get to public space like this, so many of our leaders, so many of our management experts, they regale us with Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Kuan Yew. But they forgot, they never read the entire piece to know that the weapon that Lee Kuan Yew actually used was quality in their education. Yes, it's a one country, it's a one city country. But Lee Kuan Yew himself was quite educated, read law in England, went first class, went to the Harvard Government School of Government, and returned to his country. He used quality in education in the country. He ensured that every civil servant, everybody is educated to the point of Lee Kuan Yew. He was there for 32 years, disrupted everything. He constructed the press culture. He said that the British culture of pulling him down will not be applicable in Singapore. And he was able to do this by also getting children so everybody is qualified. No room for mediocrity. He got everybody into excellence. No federal character, no location advantage, nothing. He ensured that quality in education is what actually should drive development. Until tomorrow, you see everybody in that place is really educated, and our leaders actually put him without reading, without studying the essence of how he used public policies. And what it means is that Singapore's power base is simple: intellectual capital. That is what he uses. We do not need to contrast that one. We don't need to read that one. Intellectual capital. That's what they use. That's what they sell to the world. They don't have oil. They don't have anything. You contrast that one with our people who invest in SUVs, our parliamentarians who have the power to approve whatever for themselves. We can contrast that, and you look at that. When we get to even South Korea, near Singapore, I've traveled to so many of these places. You see how, when we get there, you see how in South Korea, they also use quality in education for their development, to show the world that there is a nexus between quality in education and development. There are about 60 million South Korea people now, but this is what they do to ensure that they do not use generalization in South Korea. They have Ministry of Education and ministry is separated from Ministry for Knowledge Development to fund research and development issues. That is why you have Samsung. That is why you have Samsung competing with any of the electronic products you find around. They support Samsung, whatever they do there with quality research. They lead their own educational institutions to industry, and they fund it. They send their own people to the United States and other places. They follow them up and they return home. We are coming to that one, how it is useful to internationalization. On the state of education and global competitiveness, education, you see that there is a way, if you are not there, that the warning is germane now because the state of education anywhere is a combination of many factors, including the quantum of resources committed to the educational sector and the quality human capital assigned to manage the value chain as it happened in Singapore. The state, it continued that even before the 1960s, you find the history. I'm not telling any history. Let us skip all these ones. Let's skip them. The state of education continued even before the 1960s and what have you. You have some research reports that you have. I don't think we need to waste our time on all those ones. You will find it there on state of education and global competitiveness. You find, for instance, in the decade 2002, lack of funding, lack of teaching tools and modern classrooms, poor remuneration. These are things that are very well known to us. I don't think that we should waste our time with that. But it's printed, it's in this place because of our time. It is a fact in one of those interventions, the fact that percentage of federal budgetary allocation education have been dwindling. This data is very important. It was 7.2 in 1995 and 4.5 in 2004. The condition becomes more pathetic when Nigeria's gross national product allocation to education is compared with those of less affluent African nations that allocate greater percentage. Cote d'Ivoire at that time allocates 5% of GNP to education, Kenya 5 to 6.5, and Nigeria 0.76%. It's been like that. We have various facts like that. And just have some competitive. You have some from that stage. You have a lot of data that we can use to deconstruct where we are going. Said aggressive. You get to a stage, the state of education and global competitiveness continued. You find that the failure of government to implement 2009 agreement with ASU, we have not resolved the problem till the present, which is pathetic. ASU is still warming up for more strikes because you continue to see even state actors blaming teachers when some teachers in other countries, like Scandinavian countries, they pay teachers more than any other public servants. In this regard, where will internationalization of higher education begin from? We are going there. What is it? The internationalization of higher education and its global relevance. The internationalization of university education has typically been seen as a contemporary trend driven by Western developed nations, whereby particular elite models of provision most frequently delivered in the English language and which is there, and it has some global practice. It's a global practice, this internationalization. I want to say this, that there is nothing that is new about internationalization of higher education. I contrast it in my study with federalism. We are talking about federalism. Even we at The Guardian, we just launched a book, a serial of 61 editorials of federalism. And we've invited a professor to deconstruct it for us. We compiled it as, oh, federalism is the answer. We now ask the professor, what is the question? And Professor Osagai, did it for us, DGNIA. I contrast it with this internationalization because federalism is not something that we are looking for, that, oh, it has not been practiced. We used federalism to build some of our own institutions. Federalism, it was federalism through regionalism that built the University of Ife. Federal government seized in 1975. It was a regional government act. The young people should know. This University of Ife was not a federal university. It was a regional university. We looked at it. Even the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, wasn't a federal university. Ahmadu Bello University, young ones should know and research this, was also a regional university. Federalism, a federalist structure at that time, when regions were allowed to build their own, to develop at their own rate, built those institutions. The federal government came and seized them around 1975, just the way they seized Western Nigeria TV to be today's NTA. We may ask questions about that. So it is with internationalization. Why we're just asking for restoration of federalism. And even this internationalization, we are asking for restoration of it. It's not that it has not existed. What is the university itself? It's a universal city. It has never been a local affair. The body of knowledge, you can do a lot of things. The body of knowledge has never been a local affair. But then let's go, we'll return to it. This trend has manifested itself in two main ways. First, through the recruitment of international students. The recruitment of international students is not new to Nigeria. Academic staff, that is also not new. Even in secondary school, some of our elderly ones, some of our elders were taught even in secondary schools by foreign teachers. But there is a reason for it. Through the recruitment of international students and academic staff, notably to the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, and Western countries. Second, through the opening up by the Western universities of French campuses, which is not new. Local institutions are developing overseas. We see some examples. It's not that this thing is new, but we lost everything at a time to politics, poor governance, and other systems. The internationalization of university education has typically been seen as a contemporary trend. I think this was repeated. The picture is, however, rather more complex than this. For a start, the internationalization of higher education has been with us for centuries. Indeed, arguably ever since the institutions of higher learning were first established. There is a research study that is here and it's also quoted there. And globalization, the term globalization is often used in a similar way, indeed, most interchangeably to internationalization when discussing higher education policy and trends. See, some authors, however, seek to make a distinction between the two, seeing internationalization as a contemporary expression of internationalism encompassing response to the forces of globalization, which are viewed as being far from benign in nature. You see the quote there. What else is internationalization of higher education about? It has become one, I think this point is very important. It has become one important issue in the development of higher education. It's from a journal. This which describes it as one of the most powerful substantive development in the history of American higher education. They do it. This international dimension as an organized activity referred to in general by the term international education is a product of the 20th century, introduced first mainly in the United States for reasons of foreign policy and national security. They use it as an instrument of foreign policy so that when people who have enjoyed their own education will return to their countries and continue to look up to the United States. They do it in Australia. They have done it. You have had Peace Corps. They have come through various means to ensure that we had their education. That's why I said it is not new. And you will see when we move on, let's move on. What else is the internationalization of higher education about? It is further argued that with the development of globalization, the international dimension will evolve into an integrated element of higher education and move away from its present position as an isolated set of activities, strategies, and processes. This is manifested in a shift in emphasis from more traditional forms of international education to strategies that are more directly related to the core functions of the university in a shift. You see, all these ones are there. I think we can move forward. We can move forward and we can easily read it and get to the meat of the matter. This comparative analysis you can easily get. it is, you see, one of the reasons I will read out here, I don't know where they are as they are doing it in this concept. It is one of the measures used to gauge whether, listen to this, the United States is succeeding in attracting talented people from around the world who are as innovators, we help drive the economy and remain on the cutting edge. And as tomorrow's world leaders, we help USA shape the future. This is what they do. By giving you scholarship, by opening up their own university system for you to come, they retain you there. Or they get those ones who are properly educated in their country, but the economies cannot keep them. So they just get talents. They are still getting talents. Now, what is it in Nigeria? Japa syndrome. So North America, comprising even Canada, USA, United Kingdom, Australia, our people are going there. But you just note this point that they help drive the economy and remain on the cutting edge. Most of our people, as I was coming, for instance, I told one of my big brothers, he said, well, you're going to Ondo State. You are going to the university. I hope you will tell the university to reach out to one Professor Olutoye, who is doing very well in the United States, but he trained as a medical doctor at the University of Ife, but is doing wonders in the United States. He told me. So this is just to tell us that this is not new. Our people are there. They are investing talent from this place to develop their economy, but our own is bleeding because of poor conditions of service at home. The ecosystem here does not support talent development, doesn't support anybody. It supports even celebration of mediocrity. And all those talks, like that, they give them big positions. You see some of the people who are even commissioners of education, you weep for certain states. You weep for the country sometimes when you hear that somebody was a minister of education, even immediate past minister of education. I don't want to talk about him here because lawyers are looking at me. They're going to send him to sue for libel. And I think that what we are saying in effect is that these people are using all these things for foreign policy objective, for strategy to develop their own country, to use intellectual capital as their own oil and gas resources. This is the issue. And when we come to that, you will see some of these things. You find the German experience here. You will read the details of the German experience, what they are doing with internationalization, with globalization of education. They give all sorts of scholarships. They give all sorts of grants to people to attract talents to their country and to sell their foreign policy objective. You will find even in this place, you will find, I don't want to read all those ones, you have them. You will find even the Chinese Renaissance, the Chinese example. You will find the example of Chinese example, what they have done by engaging people. They are setting up Chinese centers in various universities. I'm aware they're already at the University of Lagos. They are doing that. They give scholarship for people from here to go to China. You will see the genuine facts of this thing with this Chinese Renaissance is there. The last one is that reflects its global political strategy. China is using its strengths in science and technology to appeal to students in the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia, forming partnership with governments in those regions to sponsor students in medicine, engineering, agriculture. In the face of growing domestic and international demand for higher education, China has invested significant resources to enhance the institutional and human resource capacities of its higher education institution in the last 10 years, when that was written. You know, it's a conclusion of international experiences. You will see here that historically, the United States has been the main destination for students seeking to study outside of their countries. This accolade, however, is being seriously challenged by other countries seeking to increase the number of international students studying in their countries. The competition recognizes the economic and foreign policy benefits of hosting international students and wants a greater share of it. They have also adapted their national laws and education systems in order to attract more students. The United Kingdom and Canada, for example, has made it much easier for international students to work in their countries for a set of period of time after graduation. You have all these examples and examples and examples and examples. Another, they have one major benefit we cannot ignore, despite all this. Association of International Educators, that is NAFSA, that is another major benefit is economic. According to NAFSA, Association of International Educators, international students paid about 13 billion in tuition and fees during 2009-2010 school years, as most international students do not receive federal funding. Typically, their tuition is also higher at state schools. At a time of economic downturn, the United States, this is an extra incentive to recruit more international students. You see, this one you get to it. As I was coming here, I discussed with a state functionary who was not actually aware. You can find out after this. Our people who are able to send their children abroad. This is part of the dilemma of public officers in Nigeria. If you are a citizen of the United Kingdom, it's given. You know, it is not something that you plead for. From the time of David Cameron, they just stated it. You are going to pay £9,000 as a citizen. That's the school fee. £9,000. If you are not a citizen, if you're a foreigner, you pay £14,000. And they use this. If you check Lagos well now, Abuja, you see some people, they are recruiting people to go there and they are taking our money. So it's also economic for them, for people who are getting children there. Ask parents who have children in Canada how much they pay. You know, but because of poverty, because of the way they have, because of the way our people here, our leaders who are dealers, I call them dealers, not leaders, the way they have mismanaged our resources, they, on their own, they don't allow us to know that we need to pay school fees for higher education to get quality in it. How? Because our parents cannot pay. Our parents cannot pay, but some of them are paying higher in some private institutions in this country. But when talk about student loan is not new. Obama just finished paying his own from law school in Harvard. He just finished paying. Student loan is there even in developed countries because there are certain courses you cannot actually, you can't use your salary or whatever to pay for certain things even in developed countries. But here we are. We talk about student loan, but we can't find the loan. We can't find the institution. When the entire national budget is used for debt servicing, 99 point anything for debt servicing, where will student loan come from? When subsidy is still there, when we are borrowing to finance even consumption, it is not going to come like that. We are talking about internationalization of university education. Internationalization doesn't come cheap like that. And whatever you want to do, whether you want to send your people abroad or whatever you want to do, it is not going to be cheap. So higher education, quality in it costs a lot of money to maintain quality, to maintain standards that can be international for us to bring people here to come and work or to bring students here. We need money. At a time in Lagos, I asked a particular governor when the last two students were on strike because they increased their fees to 25,000. They were talking about indigenous and others, and I asked the governor, will you want to do this? Will you want to do that? Here, he couldn't answer my question at a particular function because funding of education has become like a joke here. It's not easy to maintain a university. And students should note this, that the leaders who are maintaining all this structure here, it's tough, but we can't explain where our money has been. When you look at the lifestyle of our leaders buying one SUV for 160 million, the 130 million respectively for 109 senators, 360 House of Representatives, if you tell the young ones there is no money, say what of that money? So this is just to deconstruct this, that international experience is not something we will, let's talk, it's not something we joke with. Let's talk about one very popular scholarship. It's part of our organization by other people that we want to get into. Chevening Scholarship. How many of us are aware of Chevening Scholarship here? Maybe there are Chevening scholars around us here in the United Kingdom. You know, the UK Chevening Scholarship for master's degree, September to September, every year has been serving this same purpose since 1983. The Chevening Scholarship Program, developed into prestigious and highly competitive and designed to support highly competitive, it is designed to support Britain's public diplomacy. Listen to this. Public diplomacy overseas. Chevening Scholarship provide the skills and experiences required to achieve at the highest levels while supporting strong relationships with UK in the future. The administrator is the British Council, and they give full scholarship for master's program, not our own. No ASU strike, no strike, nothing. 1 year, September to September. You can't complete it from September to September, your master's program. That's your own headache. But they have a purpose, as I've just read like this now. You see, this is the way they artfully advertise the very British internationalization strategy. As well as offering fully funded master's degrees, it is unique. It's a unique opportunity for the next generation of leaders, influencers, and decision makers to develop a relationship with the UK that will grow throughout their careers. Once you become a Chevening scholar, they capture you. It's like a state capture. They capture you as a beneficiary. Every year, they bring you together. When people are returning, they call those who have benefited for a feast, for some festival, just to make you to think British. This is the way they do it. So what are Chevening scholarships? You see, you can read it in this thing. We don't need to go into it. How does it work? All applicants undergo a rigorous selection process, and the most suitable applicants are then personally selected by British embassies and high commissions around the world. There are so many of them like that. German has its own Chevening, not called Chevening. You see, even the Netherlands, all these European countries have, even EU has, Commonwealth has, so many. I just wrote the example of Chevening scholarship. Who is it for? Listen to this. Chevening scholarships have ambition, leadership potential, a strong academic background, and that is if you have an excellent record of rising to prominent positions in their countries across a range of fields. So when you see some people who are so British in their thinking when they are on television, just find out some things about them. They have benefited from internationalization, very artful internationalization policy. You know, you remember American Fulbright Fellowship? It was there. So many of our elders who were Fulbright scholars. It's exchange program. It used to be exchange program. Foreign lecturers came to teach and carry out research. Nigerian lecturers also went abroad to teach and carry out research abroad. We can ask at this juncture, what happens to the scheme? What really happens to the scheme, this Fulbright fellowship? This should be reactivated as part of internationalization revival strategy because, well, whether we like it or not, we can blast them, we benefit from them. We benefit from that. And it's good for us to exchange knowledge like that from a universal city. The universal city and global relevance. You see, when you get to it like that, we read it as it is like this. It is not for any trite reason that the university is called a universal city. But it appears that we are talking about it now because that university has lost its universe. The universe is being lost because of so many factors we have been talking about locally, that the corporate governance system, the government system is broken. We can't even understand how a minister of state for labor at the time, when they were discussing ASU issue, they went on television, on national television. They said, "What of that ASU? I beg, don't talk about those people." That is not how to develop a country. That's not how to honor teachers. When the minister of state, who is supposed to be part of negotiation, he wanted to talk about the next election. He wasn't ready to talk about the state of education in Nigeria. And we are here discussing internationalization when even our local leaders are not ready to return the universe to the university. It's not that it wasn't here, we lost it. The Olutoye I'm talking about, many of us who read about him, he is from this state. Olutoye is from this state. He's from where? You know, many of us know him. He was trained here, but he's gone abroad. So what are we in all this rigmarole about internationalization? The answer is we are nowhere for now. Recall, I said to you earlier that this topic, internationalization of university education for global relevance, is not to entertain the Adekunle University administrators and students. The lecture is structured to rouse conscience of the nation. Remember Frederick Douglass, who was credited with the saying that at a time when they were fighting for slaves to be freed in the United States, he declared to the adamant rulers of that time, the conscience of the nation must be roused. Roused. It's not aroused. It must be roused. It's some of these computer systems like that we just bring in some strange words. We must rouse the conscience of this nation. Madiba predicted will be the trigger for the rise or fall of the black race. You know, before he died in 2013, a foreign affairs permanent secretary, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, interviewed Mandela about Nigeria, about Africa, and this is what he said, which has been quoted several times. The world will not respect Africa until Nigeria ends that respect. The black people of the world need Nigeria to be great as a source of pride and confidence. On May 29, 2021, I wrote an article on this construct in which I appealed to the elders in the land that they should wake up from their deep slumber, because the Nigeria that Nelson Mandela identified as the only source of pride and confidence for the black people of the world was really on the brink. It is not that we are quoting a former American ambassador to Nigeria. We don't need him. We don't need John Campbell to tell us that Nigeria is really on the brink anymore. He wrote a book in 2011, Nigeria Dancing on the Brink. We don't need to repeat this one, that our country could become a failed nation sooner than later unless urgent steps were taken to save her and save her education. At the moment, there are indeed visible pieces of evidence of trouble from the way things are happening fast across the country. And sadly, the Western powers will be the first to hail any harm to Nigeria as democracy in action. They will tell us triumphantly that we told you so, but our greedy, callous, and mentally lazy leaders in some of our capitals, and even in the nation's capital and 36 state capitals, should note that the atomic bomb we talked about before, the atomic bomb they are using to destroy the country we elected them to run is they have all left education to the vagaries of this thing called internationalization of university education for global relevance, and even in their own way. Our leaders at all levels are enjoying. They have for 24 years left all our so-called federal roads impassable. Listen to that. They fly over them. They fly over our roads. You know, I thank the Vice Chancellor. There was no flight from Lagos to Akure. I couldn't get any file. He fought. He was directly involved, coordinating everything. He now sent vehicles from this place to ensure that nothing would go wrong. He sent vehicles and we drove from Lagos to Ibadan. So easy. From Ibadan to our own Akure. It wasn't easy. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor for the effort to ensure that nothing go wrong. But it's not easy at all. They fly over, our people, our leaders fly over all those bad roads. What do they do after that? Because they have for 24 years later roads, all of our so-called federal roads impassable. They fly over them. When they don't fly, they have billions of naira, worth of SUVs to drive on the roads. They failed to construct. They claim there is no money, but they can waste the little left out of our debt servicing nation to buy 160 million, as I said before, per unit worth of SUVs. And the Senate of 109 members and 130 million per unit worth of SUVs for 360 members of the House of Representatives. They send all their children to schools abroad, including Ghana. That's their own form of internationalization. They send all their children to schools, including even Ghana. You will be wondering how many of our students are in Ghana, our neighbor here, because of the fact that they have invested robustly in education. One of such examples you will see in some examples I have not got to is this. About 3 years ago, Google was looking for artificial intelligence center, was looking for a place to put artificial intelligence. And they did a survey. At the time, a Nigerian was the head of Google, a woman, a graduate from the University of Ife, in computer science, went abroad, equipped herself, internationalized her own university education by getting that. She was the head of Google. But she was not alone. She couldn't do that arbitrarily. They were making surveys. They surveyed all our universities offering computer science, computer technology. Here, they couldn't find a host to artificial intelligence. And they went to Ghana. And that is why the Ghana is the center of artificial intelligence. They have very few universities in Ghana, but they were able to find a place to put their artificial intelligence. And there is a sense in which we can say, maybe we can say, let our leaders be blessed for that, for not equipping universities. We'll get to where they are even licensing more universities instead of equipping the ones that they have. We'll get to them. So, SUVs, you find all the issue. So what is worse? The current chief, there was a time, the current chief of staff to the president was the one who negotiated peace, just one peace deal between ASU and the federal government. Was that not true? He did. After negotiating that, he tricked ASU members into calling off strike before election. Has he revisited the issue? No. So these are the ways they internationalize our own university education, by leaving such an important issue hanging, by not addressing it, by not showing anger that our education quality is questionable. He didn't do that. He did. You see that there's a way we can call such people dealers instead of calling them leaders. Look at what they are doing to tertiary education. The Guardian, where I work, the other day reported this gory tale on the same university system, which contrasts with the essence of universality of tertiary education we are discussing now. You will see it in the link provided here. Poor funding raises concerns for 270 new private universities. Why that? The ones that we have, we couldn't find artificial intelligence center there. We couldn't find facilities. We could find some experts, but no facilities to teach such things. We haven't found experts who have benefited from internationalization. The exchange program we we used to benefit from, no longer available. So you see the story here about 270 new private universities lament poor funding in the story at The Guardian. With new requests, total universities to hit 528, private owned 418. Only 30% of students' population have access to lecture theaters, laboratories, libraries, NUC universities not meeting mandate. Experts say you will read the story. The story is here. You have got the gist of the story. We don't need to go through all these ones. The findings show that Nigerian university currently has no fewer than 258 universities. Among them are 50 federal, 60 state, and you will find all the details here. But what we are saying is that I once wrote an article which I used to get that informed commentary, whether you need better or more universities is debatable. Whether we need better or more universities, you will see the data here. So we are saying that universities by their nature are drivers of socio-economic, cultural and political development and global innovation. They help in acquiring academic skills, blah, 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 as we can say. But before it is too late, we are saying we need to tell our leaders to invest robustly in education. Let us not be telling them to fund education. And for those who are state actors around and who are going to be tomorrow, which they do funding of education haphazardly, and quite often it turns out to be like what Shakespeare calls a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So why we need better universities, not more? I wrote an article and I quoted what I wrote in this. You can easily get that. We don't need to go through that. What I said here, actually derived from a foreigner's article in a local newspaper, whether we need more or better universities. I deconstructed it, and then it was profound enough to have won that award. But we can read the details here. Higher institutions should be granted. You know, the issue of autonomy, you know, it has become like, what are they talking about? It's been legalized. Autonomy. Higher institutions should be granted full autonomy and allowed unfettered hands to source funds through private sector partnership. You know, when we're talking about this autonomy, the autonomy thing is not something that is new, it's there in the law. But which university is actually autonomous as public institutions? The private universities are creatively doing some internationalization, and they have the liberty to create courses that will enable them to do something. But National Universities Commission is there, and some others for public universities. There is a way you can partner with private sector. They say, oh, TED Fund is there. TED Fund. How far can TED Fund go in funding quality education that we are talking about in 21st century? To talk about internationalization that will enable us to get this thing. You will see what we are talking about here, that this autonomy should be granted in a way that is legalized, and public policy people are invited to actually know how to manage the autonomy of university. If the university is not autonomous, it cannot do what it is created to do. The laws and the people, small boys and small minds, managing education policies will not allow the autonomy to work. The other day, there was an order stopping a convocation of the University of Lagos because the pro-chancellor disagreed with the chief executive of the university, and he wanted to prove a point. What did he do? He ran to Abuja instead of discussing with the chief executive of the university. And they issued, and there was an order from National Universities Commission to stop convocation. They have spent so much money to prepare, just like this. Was the university not autonomous to organize its own convocation? Why can't the university system be allowed through the law that they have signed, through the bill they have signed into law? Autonomy of university is law of the land, but they do not, as they say, operationalize it. And this is the problem, that people have the capacity to do something, but the law and policies of federal officers, unitary people, unitary system people, it holds you down. You can't do anything. Unitary at the federal level, even unitary at the state level, because we run one system, as I said earlier, in Nigeria, and it was really very bad. We wrote an editorial on it at The Guardian, that this is awful. Why? They carried even the governing council meeting to one NUC room, where they took decision on one of the federal universities, because the Minister of Education had the power to do that, and he wasn't questioned by a committee of the National Assembly. We elected those people to represent interest and cry foul when anything goes wrong, but they didn't do anything concerning that. So you will see in our intervention here that we need that autonomy one way or the other. Still on internationalization for global recognition, we are talking about this because the present moment is marked by many unknowns, which include rapid changes in the labor markets, changes in the structures and types of jobs, enormous increases in the amount of knowledge, uncertainties in everyday life, failures of communication, and very frequent and widespread economic and financial crisis. You see, all these point to the inescapable fact that education system today should produce highly flexible individuals willing to be retrained, easily adaptable and changes in work and family environment, ready to continuously upgrade their knowledge and develop a variety of communication skills. This is what Alvin Toffler, a futurist, means when he wrote that if care isn't taken in this century, we could produce the illiterate of the 21st century. If our tertiary institutions cannot create learning, unlearning, and relearning ecosystem. According to Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This first century university and the year of a lifelong learning. You see another one. That learning, unlearning, and relearning. In my own profession, I give you an example. Mass communication, or you just go to read journalism. The 21st century has rendered so many of us who are dinosaurs useless and not operate properly. You can't operate properly now in the journalism unless unless the autonomy we are talking about allows the university, without any recourse to any authority, to get into computer science. So when you get to a good website of a good journalism school, and I want the authorities to take note, you have to take courses, about 60% of courses from computer science, and join it to journalism. You become a digital journalist. If you cannot do that now, if you carry your first class degree without the knowledge of computer science, which enables you to manage text, sound, and video at the same time, without having to wait till tomorrow for our newspaper, you are nowhere to be found. No market will absorb you. You can pray from now to the the end of 2025, the market is not ready for you. Journalism now is more of computer science. If you do not have computer science teachers in your journalism school here, you better recruit some before it is too late. To learn new ideas, to unlearn old ideas of journalism, because journalism has become a conversation. There's something magisterial about it that we editors. Everybody now is an editor. In his own room, just open a website to become an editor. Because journalism is now a conversation. That is where we are. And education should be tailored to achieve that objective in all areas. And there should be autonomy to do that. If there's no autonomy to do that, we're just wasting our time in 21st century. That's what Alvin Toffler is talking about. So, you find data for what the Guardian published. We don't need all those things, but the details are there. The lecturers, according to that story, lecturers are leaving the school. They are leaving the school. They are leaving Nigeria. We published the data of how lecturers are leaving various public institutions. Public universities. So where do we go from where Wole Soyinka once lamented? You recall that at a time, Professor Wole Soyinka, the only Nobel laureate we have had in this place in sub-Saharan Africa, for literature since 1986. He said at the time, he looked like he was joking, but he looked into the seeds of time and said that, look, we must close down universities to reorganize. Since that time, we have been licensing more universities instead of even reorganizing and investing properly in what we have. I said, since education sector at home isn't good, where will the condition to internationalize come from? You see, isn't it a time to interrogate Professor Wole Soyinka's suggestion some years ago about the expediency of closing down all Nigerian universities? He actually didn't mean physical closure. He was talking about restructuring to enable quality to continue in our university system. At that time, he had noticed that we were producing mediocrities in the system and that we're not producing quality to be able to serve our industry. I think that is what he was talking about. So, you see, in 2007, to get to this point, that we were not like this, that we were involved in universality, internationalization of education. I met a woman in Florida, in Miami, Florida. I went for an international function, Africa Can Do. And I met a woman, president of one of their universities. The husband is Senegalese, and a Nigerian. I followed a Nigerian on Fred to their home, and I got there. As soon as I was introduced to the woman as a Nigerian journalist, he looked at me. He said, "You are Nigerian? Where is Godini Dara?" That's Professor Gigi Dara now, for those who know him. He said, "Where is Godini Dara? Gabriel Godini Dara?" Then he was my classmate at the University of Ibadan, where I did my doctorate degree in English literature. He asked me, he said, Dara, that she came all the way from United. He heard about a great university in Africa and in Ibadan. And he came, no internet, nothing at that time. And she came here. I told you, she gave me a note to give to Professor Gigi Dara. That so. It says African American. So this thing is not new. All these teachers, all these Thabo Mbeki, and all these leaders from South Africa attended our universities. So many of our people used to come here to benefit from our university system that was robust. Internationalization, all this Fulbright fellowship and others were there. But where are we now? Where are we? The highway universities without universe. As I was coming, thanks to the Vice Chancellor, as we were coming, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, what do you find? You find so many highway universities without universe. With due respect, so many. As if now, what we found out is that as illicit fund flow has been restricted by law, many people are just putting in their money into establishing hotels and universities. So everywhere you go, that's what we found out. We may not be able to find hard evidence for publication. Sometimes we editors, we do not publish everything because of public interest, because of our country. It's our social responsibility. But these are the things that we are beginning to see. You see, what is more horrible than a situation where most Nigerian universities have become mere factories for producing unemployable graduates at all levels. All the major highways have become attractions for private universities, most of which are just for ways of laundering money, as alleged by some people, for some crooks who can no longer hide such slush and stolen funds abroad because of the danger in illicit money transfer now that we have the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. But sadly, most of the lecturers at the universities cannot allow their children to be admitted into the universities where they teach. It's the irony. Most of the lecturers we know there, they don't allow their children to get to such universities. I know many of them who will still have to struggle through thick and thin to send their wards abroad where real learning takes place, and some to some public institutions where they know that they still have some standard. Because we know that most of these public schools get their own teachers, their lecturers from public institutions where they know some standards are available. But let us reflect on this classic according to, I think this is no longer necessary. You can read that. Whether it is local or global, that is globalization or localization, we coin it as local. Whether it is local or global, the university should be equipped enough to play its primary role of turning the ordinary man to be what he wants to be, professional. But can the university play this role today in this age of digital technology? You know, you will see what I wrote there from a research of what university should be. I don't need to stress that one so much, but I wrote somewhere here that you will see, lamentation isn't a strategy. That is what we learn in business school. Lamentation isn't a strategy. We have been lamenting over the years. There is an innovator's dilemma. There's a professor of innovation in Harvard. Is Clayton Christensen. In 1997, he wrote a book, a classic, The Innovator's Dilemma. And then now, as I said earlier, there is a dilemma of where to go. What do we do in the face of this poor funding and everything? For young ones here, this will be interesting to you. If you don't charge appropriate fees, there can't be good funds for running the university. If you charge appropriately, parents can pay. The other day, Mighty Washimolowo, proprietor of King's University, who claimed to us that he has spent 37 years in UK, a proprietor of King's University, Odeomu, in Osun State, told The Guardian that listen to this, free and quality education is a mirage. During a courtesy call to The Guardian in Lagos, he said, unquote, one of the biggest challenges we have in Nigeria is that we have to let our young people know how expensive education is. We are also lying to our kids that in states and federal universities that they are paying school fees when they are not. So they are paying school fees when they are not. And actually, he himself, he explained to us that what I said earlier, that in UK, if you are a citizen, you pay £9,000. If you are not a citizen, you pay 14,000. For medicine and some other technology courses, you can pay more. You pay more. So it is not something that we should joke with. So we have to think through what we can do. In this place, I wrote something about a professor of practice. It is not something that is new, but some of us who are in the industry, we are not in the academia. There are so many people like that in various fields, whether medicine, pharmacy, journalism, law, and some others. And I think there is something that law school is doing, and the lawyers here, that is why the standard has actually not fallen. We see it, that they get people who are practicing law to do a lot of teaching in law school. And it has helped a great deal. And so we are suggesting that this professor of law, you see the framework here, and it's not something that I'm selling to the academic community, and I think the committee of vice chancellors, committee of vice chancellors, deans, and all these leaders in the industry should consider this and work with the National Universities Commission and other authorities to ensure that people who are practicing are visiting professors. They are not academic professors, but they are professors of practice. It's done all over the world so that you can strengthen the faculties, that these people who are doing something. I was told in 2018, when I addressed 156 heads of Department of Journalism in Kano, when they were inaugurating their School of Communication, following the unbundling of mass communication. Is now unbundled. You don't have mass communication as a course. Ordinarily, you are supposed to have a School of Journalism, to have BSc Journalism, maybe print media, BSc Broadcasting, BSc Advertising, BSc Public Relations. When they inaugurated the one of Kano, Professor Pate invited me and one expert as an industry person to talk to them on data and investigative journalism, to teach data and investigative journalism. One professor from UAE. At the end of my practical experience, at the end of addressing them, they said to me that people like you should be professors of practice, but look at what autonomy doesn't allow, they call it so-called autonomy, didn't allow us to do. That we should be able to bring people, but we don't have the money. But I think we should summon the will to begin something. And by appealing to people who have been in the industry. For instance, people in this state, there are so many, like this professor I was talking about, among other people. We should find a way of getting them to the system to come and teach certain courses. People who are practicing, they are not part of the academic system. They are not part, but they can add value to the system. There was a thing like that by the NUC. They call it Leeds. I will get there, and then we get out. Say, what happened to the NUC Leeds program, for instance, which is similar to this professor of practice model. Let's revive the NUC's linkages with experts and academics in diaspora. The NUC's linkages with experts and academics in the diaspora scheme, LEADS, established by NUC in 2007 to support the federal government efforts to transform education sector. What happens to it? It is meant to listen, unquote, from their website. While it worked, it is meant to attract experts and academics of Nigerian extraction in the diaspora and on short-term basis to contribute to the enhancement of education in the Nigerian university system. What happens to it? And I think leaders should fight for the revival of this by the National Universities Commission, which is a legal body Number two, it is to create appropriate engagement positions and job satisfaction for Nigerian academics and experts so that they are not attracted away or wasted internally. According to the NUC, again, unquote, it is also to encourage healthy staff movements, interaction and collaboration across and between Nigerian universities and other sectors of education and national development. Finally, it is to encourage experts in industry to participate in teaching and research in Nigerian universities. You find the link there. This is a lofty strategy that will have prevented some of today's discussion points. NUC began this, but inquiries indicated that trouble setting when some lecturers from the diaspora that began this were disappointed because of delay in paying their salaries and other emoluments. So we began a lofty thing like that, but we lost it. We lost it. So there should be revival of NUC's lead project. The Diaspora Commission should be involved to get a proper register of our professors abroad. They can do that. We have a Diaspora Commission now. They can get the register of our professors abroad. We can begin internationalization by putting structures and infrastructure here and then invite our people who teach abroad at the moment. There are so many of our people. Then our people can also exploit that to go abroad on some exchange programs we have been doing and return if the ecosystem allows it. Okay, as I talked about this before, then our people can exploit this that go abroad on some exchange program and return. China and other Asian countries exploit this strategy a great deal. South Korea, as I said before, handles this with a Ministry for Knowledge Development, different from Ministry of Education. Specifically, Diaspora Commission and NUC can synergize so that what we have tagged brain drain can become brain gain. And can become brain gain in the private sector. Industry works with academics, visiting members. In our own, we have robust editorial, not because, well, there is something special about it. Let me tell you the secret of this one. I would say, let me finish this. Visiting members of editorial boards, resource persons at workshops, academics, and members of boards of trustees and professional bodies. This is a way we can broaden the scope of knowledge development for the good of the country, even as we strengthen virtual learning prospects, as suggested earlier. What am I saying? At the editorial board of The Guardian, we have robust editorial because the following sound professionals are members of the board. The editorial board of The Guardian is headed by Professor Wale Omole, a former vice chancellor of the University Obafemi Awolowo University. Former vice chancellor is the chairman. He's retired, but is the chairman. He's not tired. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi is a visiting member, and a general, a former chief of army staff who died 2 weeks ago, General Chris Ali, was a visiting member. He visited even 2 weeks before he died. Every Wednesday we gather to consider issues of national importance, topics, and we give people to write. But with those people, nothing can go wrong. Dr. Patrick Deleko, Professor Akiyemi, it's a product of Oxford too. He benefited from internationalization before scholarship program in this country when there was a country. Dr. Deleko, a product of Cambridge, also was managing director of Daily Times when there was a country. And he was Nigeria's ambassador to Brazil. He worked in the cabinet office. He's from the cabinet office. They seconded him to take over Daily Times in 1975. These are legends. They come to improve on writing of our editorial. They were part of the people who did 61 editorial on federalism. They guided us. One Professor Sylvester Akaine is a professor of political science in LASU. He immediate past head of Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos, Professor Abigail Ogwezi in the FICA. It's a visiting member. They were there yesterday. So we can, what do we pay them? Can we really pay them? We only attracted them to come, and we used the brand name to invite them, give them light refreshment when they come, and we pay them stipend. Don't ask me how much. But at the end of the day, you find robust editorial. When Professor Akinyemi will tell you something about the relationship between Israel and Palestinian people, nothing you will be satisfied because he's a professor. Professor Molly himself. He also benefited from University of Alberta in Canada, where he did his doctorate in animal science. He is very deep, even in the history of Nigeria, even as a scientist. When there are so many of them, Professor Nwokoma Ndubisi is a professor of economics from a product of University of Ibadan, director of the economic policy and whatever at the University of Lagos. There are so many of them that I cannot mention who are visiting. I believe that this it doesn't require so much money. It requires some mobilization to be able to do this. I believe that the Diaspora Commission can be involved in this and is very, very useful to administrators. And I think that we should, the council and management of this university and other universities should look into this global practice to strengthen our manpower challenge as a result of what has happened for us in Nigeria. When you can attract some experienced professionals and technocrats from Nigeria and some lecturers from abroad, that can be a difference maker and turning point on your way to internationalization. We can begin from homestead. This is what you should look for. And I mean, that is what you should look for. You should look for professors of practice to do for you through deft management and collaboration with all the authorities and stakeholders. Disrupt your curriculum. Education is on the concurrent list. You will see what we talk about here. Education is on the concurrent list. You should use some creativity to do that. As I said now, I don't think that we need to just lament too much about what the autonomy does not allow us to do. I don't want to speak much about that. I don't want to encourage you to break the law, but I can encourage you to bend the law. I hope the lawyers are not listening to me. There is a form of creativity that we need to do some of these things, because if we do not find a way of disrupting the curriculum in 21st century, we will not be market ready. The future will not be for us. And we just find out that we have become dinosaurs. And these young ones that are listening now, they will be the ones to laugh last. Afterward, leaders, managers, and disruptive innovation. And since the complexity of managing tertiary education can be overwhelming today, I would like to suggest that chief executive and even members of governing council should seek to get some form of business and management education, not from motivational speakers' books, but from management and business formal schools. Modern chief executives need such education to be able to manage not just academic programs, but there are issues in managing budgetary and financial issues. I got this from the business school of Liverpool, where I had some experience in this. In Liverpool, they will not be able to write dissertation if you do not pass management accounting. They believe that all managers anywhere should be able to have some management accounting skills. Because if you do not have, there is something called creative accounting. And they will use you. I hope Mr. Toby Orinan is not listening to this. That these chartered accountants, they have a way of confusing people if they don't have their conscience. It's their training. Therefore, managers should have modern business and management education. And in our class, virtual and physical, there were so many chief executives from all over the world who were medical doctors, who were engineers, who were pharmacists, because you need modern management skills to be able to manage projects. If you are a manager, project management is a key course, even purchasing and supply, and so many other things like that that managers need to have. There's no shame about that. Education is continuous. Therefore, to be able to cope with 21st century complexity, managers, chief executives of tertiary institutions should seek business and management education to be able to manage scarce resources. If not, you can't depend on some of your subordinates who will cause some problem. I am saying that managers should listen to innovation that so many experts like Christensen and Michael Porter and others have sold to the world. And the governing council leaders and university chief executives clash for lack of corporate governance issues arising from university system. Sometimes some governing council members overreach themselves and cross some ethical red lines to share power with the chief councillors, with the vice chancellors for lack of knowledge. We have seen it at some universities, including my own institution at the University of Lagos. Some of the issues that were in the press were not like that. They wanted, the chief executive of the university is very clear. And the role of the governing council member, the role of the chairman of the governing council, very, very clear. But because some people do not actually have certain education, on corporate governance system, some of these people, they cross the lines, and because they are political office holder, they are just left alone. But if you arm yourself with management skill from institutions, and I say there are certain ways you can tell the political office holders in the university system that the chief executive's role is very, very clear. We have seen where they condone some of those issues. So I advise that chief executives, you don't have to go back to school like that. There are ways of arming yourself with this knowledge so that you can manage. Even lawyers. Now, as I see my brother, yes, he has practiced very, very well, even in Abuja and in this place before coming in here. I had so many lawyers as classmates in Liverpool because managing chambers is also a skill set that modern lawyers should acquire from business school. If you add MBA to whatever you are doing, it's very, very, very easy. We didn't understand when our professor, the late Professor Frank Ugboaja at the University of Lagos told us long ago that even in addition to his doctorate, he acquired an MBA in the United States before coming to the classroom, and the difference was quite clear, but we didn't know. And I brought one book. I will have advertised it to you, but I didn't see it here now. Most times, because this new world order is too complex, and so you can't rely on your intuition only to survive. Leaders too need management education. Lee Kuan Yew, after reading law in UK, as I said earlier, went to School of Government in Harvard School of Government. Today, there is a genius factory in Singapore, genius factory. And they also have, as they have in the United States, yes, genius factory, where they keep Nobel Prize stamp bank. I have the book on it there. Nobel Prize stamp bank. What is this stamp bank about? A professor developed it. He secretly developed a model where he was able to collect the sperms from Nobel laureates to sell to couples, to be able to produce more geniuses and Nobel laureates in the United States. This is the value of quality in education. So when you see American exceptionalism, there are so many secrets to it. A professor thought of collecting sperms of Nobel laureates in the United States to produce more Nobel laureates. It's not about Nobel laureates. You know what it means to win a Nobel laurel in the physical sciences, in medicine and all those things. They want to produce more researchers. It is only quality in education that can ensure that. And I believe that the book is there. Yes, Genius Factory, where they keep the Nobel Prize palm. Davis Plotz wrote a superb book on the quest for genius and ultimately family. So that family too you can have family of first class, family of this, family of that. That is part of the secrets for American exceptionalism. That is what we need to tell our leaders who parade themselves as leaders, that quality in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics at this time is the only weapon for country and global competitiveness. Look at this example as I round off. That is why South Africa is the only outstanding country in Africa that is part of the internationalization of tertiary education. South Africa is the only African continent that is part of G20 economies. South Africa is the only country that is part of BRICS. This Brazil, Russia, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They are trying to bring in more members. Nigeria is not. Nigeria is not a member of G20. It's struggling to enter. South Africa is a member. South Africa is a member of BRICS. The S there is 2012. Belongs to South Africa. But why? Let's look at it. South Africa is the only African country. Okay, they are seeking to expand it. Nigeria isn't a member of the two powerful economic cartels yet. Check all the rating bodies for universities every year. Out of the 10 best universities in Africa region, South Africa only retains at least, most of the time, 6 to 7. And so that is why you can't dispute the fact that there is a nexus between quality in education and development of any country. So when you say South Africa is this, South African federal government pays any researcher in any university, you can find out this truth. If you write in any international journal, whatever you are teaching, and it appears the federal government pays you directly in South Africa to encourage quality in education, to encourage research and development in South Africa. That is why South Africa has MTN. South Africa has MTN. You know how much MTN takes from our economy that is not so good every month? And multi-choice here as principalities and powers we worship every day. They are principalities and powers we worship every day. We pay so much. DSTV, what is the lower form of DSTV? GoTV. We pay so much. Not to talk of MTN entered Nigeria. It was number 3 in South Africa. As soon as MTN entered Nigeria, it became number 1 in Africa. Lest we forget the Oran Saye report on education. You will read the report here. I am not going to read it. But Oran Saye report on the reform of public sector to cut cost of governance. Report something that has never been reported by anybody, even ASU and others. Oran Saye actually as a person is a chartered accountant. So the way he wrote his report, he pulled out certain data of that time, 2013, 2012, 2013, that he found out that Nigeria, the federal government spends more money on non-academic activities and non-academic staff. Non-academic, he put everything figure from organization to organization. Even when he got to the university system, he pulled out the statistics of releases for academic activities and non-academic activities. He found out that on those two subheads, that government was always spending more on non-academic activities and non-academic staff. The report is there. I have the report here. I can share the report with administrators here. So he suggested that there should be an audit system, that the university system is for academic activity. Why should there be more spending on non-academic activities and less on academic activities? The report is there. So this is an encouragement. It's not a denigration of non-academic staff that they are not useful. But some systems are filled with people. The money that is required for certain things is spent on non-academic activities and non-academic staff. We'll see the details in what we have written here. In other words, what we were saying is that the skills gap we are talking about, which is what internationalization of university education seeks to fill, the skills gap that we have. If we continue to give certificates to people without equipping institutions, or departments that are supposed to produce people for the industry. In 2001, the late Aluko Olokun drew my attention to a story in an international newspaper that the departing chief executive of a multinational company here was lamenting after granting an interview. In the interview, he lamented that he spent a lot of money, Dutch, from the Netherlands, that he was spending so much money retraining physical science graduates that they needed. That is Nestle, Nigeria, PLC, or whatever. He said so. I'm just picking to that model, that the skills gap that we need, very, very important. And we found out at the time, but we were not able to publish it in public interest, certain things, that in all these multinational companies like MTN, MultiChoice, Airtel, and some of these things like that, there are so many job openings that they cannot find Nigerians to fill. So many job openings. Because we are not equipped to handle such things. Because of what we talked about earlier, that the computer science, computer engineering, electronic engineering courses that we offer, they are largely inadequate because of poor funding. We do not have the resources to buy what we need to buy to train people who are market ready, who are future ready at this time. So I say that this is one of the reasons for internationalization of university education, to equip graduates for today's corporate governance, production, and leadership challenges. But what the trouble today, I said so earlier, which I wrote in a place here. But what is the trouble today? And this is the final. There is no universe in the university. At the moment, there is an urgent need for our leaders to disrupt our national policy on education to reflect first national character. What is the trouble? When there was a universe, I was saying here that when there was a universe, and we use this one to talk about this internationalization, and for our leaders, even in the industry here, to check the way they are managing the system. When there was this universe in the University of Ibadan will tolerate and will employ Professor Kenneth Dike as Vice Chancellor. When there was universe in the University of Ife could tolerate Professor Onwumechili as the fourth Vice Chancellor. When there was universe in the University of Lagos could tolerate Professor Eni Ujoku. When there was universe in the university, even one Professor Akikuwe was Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University. And so you could count it and count it and count it and count it. When there was universe in the University of Benin could tolerate a Christian from Kano, Professor Adamu Baike, as its Vice Chancellor. But today, what do we see? The host communities are now agitating that they should be the Vice Chancellor, they should be registrar, they should be bossa, they should be any. That is what a particular federal university in the north is all about. Even for their children of professors in certain universities to get opportunity to read certain courses. I don't know whether some of our people know this about Nigeria. This one Nigeria. Impossible. What are we saying? As we are asking for internationalization, we cannot even achieve federal character. It's quite impossible now. The only exception I found in recent time, which is good for Ondo State, we can clap for Ondo State for that. The you don't even know what I'm going to talk about. The UNIMED, the Professor Konofua, as the pioneer vice chancellor, appointed by the governor then, Mimiko, is from Edo State. And the current vice chancellor is also not from Ondo State. I think let us clap for ourselves for one good story. So as so many of the professors are trying to twist the system, to disrupt the system that produced them. When we are seeking internationalization, the vice chancellor of ABU was from West Indies. Professor, the second professor, a Christian from Zaria area. You know, there was no problem. Anybody could have been anything at that time when there was this universe. But now, local leaders, Ife, Great Ife, even UI, everywhere, university, all these federal universities of first generation, nobody can be vice chancellor University of Benin if you are not from that Benin kingdom. Same for Ife now and all those things, Yoruba issue. I think we should get out of this if we want internationalization. And I feel that in closing this thing, I hope I have not disrupted this thing here. The last, I'm looking for the last, the last thing I said there. Maybe I should look at it. I have disrupted the thing here. I'm closing. There's some closing remarks that I have there. Yes, for this one, what I'm saying is that we need to reset our mind on what we want. Whether if we can't achieve a national status anymore, how then do we achieve internationalization? How do we consolidate on universality? When professors who should set the tone for restoration of universe in the university are setting fire on the values that produce them. So we need to reset our mind on what we want. Glorified grammar schools or universal city. Thank you and God bless you.
Please, can we have a round of applause again for him? Let's have our seat. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Martins Oloja, the managing director and editor-in-chief of the Guardian newspaper. We want to thank you very much for making it the convocation lecturer for the 12th convocation ceremony of this university. Before inviting the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, let me quickly recognize the presence of Professor Francis Bore, VC, St. Mary's University. Most welcome. And also, I warmly welcome Dr. Sunday Ayerun JP, former registrar at Adekunle Ajasin University. And also Reverend MD Oguniyi from St. James Anglican Church, Akungba. You're most welcome, sir. Without taking much time, let me invite the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Dr. Tunji Abayomi, for his short remarks. Please, we can do more for the pro-chairs.
Well, thank you very, very much. I didn't anticipate that I would be asked to make any remarks, but I have known Martin for quite a number of years. When we started in practice, they were active, very, very active activist journalists who covered us. And I'm glad he didn't disappoint us. He has really never disappointed. Some ideas have actually emerged from his discussion that I think will be obviously quite useful to collective thoughts on improving particularly our university, the Kunle Ajashi University, 20th century is called. One of will be useful is this idea of visiting professor of practice. I think a lot of you will agree with me. In a situation where we have quite a number of teachers moving out of our country, we can't maintain academic, particularly academic development that is useful to the community by bringing in visiting professors of practice to complement or supplement academic development in our university. And I thank you for your ideas. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, to make a difference, you cannot walk on a beaten path. In common parlance in Yoruba language or Notosha, you cannot see the steps or the steppings of those who walk on that path. I believe that in our nation, if we continue to begin to think differently, the world is changing exceedingly rapidly in every sector. I think that as long as our thought thinkers, particularly in the universities, begin to innovate their minds and develop new thinking about knowledge, even taking their intuition and inspiration from our history and our environment, I believe that our nation will grow in a way that we want, in spite of the disappearing or the transitioning of quite a number of our children to advanced countries. I believe that we still have quite a number of our children, our youths, who are interested in the greatness of this country. Some of us, as a matter of fact, our children, for example, in my case, my children are actually not interested in staying abroad. Nearly all of them studied abroad, but they're coming back home. Because in spite of the comfort, material comfort out there, it is also true that there are lots of detriments. The culture, the environment, the human relationship, and so on and so forth, and even relationship with our parents, and so on and so forth. So, speaking to the youths of Nigeria, the students, I congratulate those who are graduating and those who are still here. I believe that the environment, the nation is your platform. And you can transform this nation through innovation, deep thinking, commitment, and patriotism. I wish you well, and I thank all of you for coming. It's my pleasure to gain from, and to Martin, Martin Oloja, to you, I can tell you when I get home tonight, I will read your paper again. I have heard some of the things, but I believe that I will still be able, we will still be able to extract a lot from it. The Vice Chancellor is there. You can be assured that next week I will sit with him to talk about some of the ideas in your paper and to see how we can transform some of these ideas to make our university. I want our university, hopefully in the next few years, to be one of the leading universities in this nation, if not in Africa. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, the Pro-Chancellor. Let me invite the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Olugbenga Ige, to the microphone for his closing remarks.
Yes, thank you very much. The chairman of council, the guest lecturer, the Vice Chancellor, St. Mary's University, Professor Francis Kore, other members of the university community, particularly our principal officers, distinguished professors, deans, faculty, directors, members of the university community, staff and students. I think what I said in the beginning has been actualized. I said that Martin Oloja's lecture will be thought-provoking. And I think he has just done that. We listened with rapt attention the issue of globalization, the issue of internationalization. And that is the end thing now all over the world. How can our university key into this recent and current trend? That is why we have mapped out this topic. And I want to thank Mr. Martin Oloja for doing justice to this important topic. A round of applause for him once again. The MD of Guardian, with all apologies, I want to correct one impression which was published in Guardian, which was also repeated here just now. 45% of lecturers in AUA left, resigned, and left the university, or Japa syndrome. That is not correct. That's not correct. 45% of lecturers in this university will translate to about 243 lecturers. Martins, let me correct that impression. That is not correct. Our lecturers here are here, they are intact, and they work every day assiduously. My own understanding of that AAUA, maybe it's another AAUA, not the one in Akungwa here. In spite of that, this is an inspiring lecture. I want to thank you for it. Ladies and gentlemen, the convocation ceremony continues tomorrow for the award of degrees in Faculty of Administration and Management Sciences, Faculty of the Social Sciences, in Education, Faculty of Education, in Institute of Education, and IPTP. Please let us attend. I want to thank you all for your attendance. This shows the type of passion that we have for our university. Thank you, Mr. Martin Soloja. In spite of the short notice, you promised that you will be here. And in spite of the fact that you couldn't get a flight to Akure, you took that decision to come to Akungba by road. I want to thank you for that sacrifice. Sometime 2021 or thereabout, there was somebody that was to come to Akungba for a particular issue. So she called me and told me that her family said she should not travel to Akungba by road because of insecurity. And just like what happened to Mr. Martins, there was no flight to Akure at that time. So she refused to come. But Mr. Martins Oloja raised all odds and decided that I have to be in Akungba to take this lecture. On behalf of the university, I thank you once again. And by the time you are going back, I also wish you a very safe trip to Lagos. Thank you very much. I thank you all. Thank you.
Please, can I have a round of applause for Mr. Vice Chancellor? We are moving quickly. And as I invite the registrar of this university, Mr. Olugbenga Arajolo, to give the vote of thanks. Mr. Registrar.
The Vice Chancellor, the Pro Chancellor and Chairman of Council, want to appreciate you, sir, for gracing this occasion. The guest the Vice Chancellor has spoken about the lecture you delivered. But nonetheless, I want to say that your lecture is quite inspiring. Very juicy. You have taken us on a smooth ride. And in fact, you taught us electric slide. We enjoy your lecture. I want to say thank you very much for coming. All the deans here present, all the professors, we acknowledge your presence. Thank you for joining members of the management team to move the university forward. Distinguished members of Adekunle Ajashin community, university community, want to appreciate all of you for your patience. And like I said, you took us on a smooth journey. Nobody is complaining. You can see people are comfortable. They are not even in a hurry to leave. It's like it should continue. So we appreciate you so much once again. For all of us, God has given us AAUA. And I pray that the same God will take us to our destination. We are looking forward to research-breaking efforts, research outcomes that will put the university on the searchlight. And then our visibility will be increased. By effort and the grace of God, we will get there. Once again, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I want to thank you. The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, particularly for coming to grace this occasion. All of us, I pray God bless us. Thank you very much. Yes, our guest lecturer, we have a souvenir to present to actually mark your coming to the university today.
Please, let's remain standing as the Vice Chancellor will session lead the hall, the reverse order. And I think we'll have a group photograph outside as well. Thank you.
Yo, what's up, bro?